Hey, what's up, everybody? This is the IMC. So I want to take the time to talk about Danae Jackson and Derek Jackson. So Danae Jackson went on my Future Wifey podcast with host Lateris R. Whitfield. And so she detailed the beginning and the start of what led into her relationship with Jackson. So basically, Danae did not grow up in a stable home. Her parents were teenagers when they had her. They were very young. And so, because of that, they didn't know how to be parents. Her father wasn't really present that much in her life. He ended up getting married to another woman. And every time that she came over to their house, her father and stepmother were arguing, right? And so, as a child, she thought that everything was about her. And so, she and her father, they didn't really have a good relationship. Then, when she went to college, there was an incident that took place where she was at a party. She had been doing some drinking, and then there was this gentleman who sexually assaulted her. And so after she got assaulted, she didn't know what to do. She didn't know how to speak up. She couldn't go home. And basically, she told her mother a lie so that her mother wouldn't worry. She was like, "Oh, I'm at my uncle's house with my cousins," right? About 2 weeks later after that, she meets Derek Jackson. She and Derek Jackson meet in their business calculus class at Tuskegee University. They're both 19 years old. So Derek goes up to her and asks her, "Hey, have you ever modeled before?" She says, "Yeah, I used to do a little bit of modeling here and there." And so he asks her if she could be his tutor. So they decide to meet up in the library. And around this time, right, she doesn't really have strong self-esteem. She's wondering, why is this guy interested in me, right? But she's also interested in him. So when she begins to tutor him, she's sitting on the opposite side. He's like, "Yo, why are you sitting over there? Come here." And so she comes on the other side. And then after that, she begins to tutor him. And then for a month, they're just talking on the phone. And she says, "I feel like I've known you all my life." They have a great connection. After a month about knowing each other, on Valentine's Day, he decides to make her his girlfriend. And so that's what happens. And so they're together for 9 years. But within that 9 years, um, I'm not going to say that there weren't any ups and downs, right? So they were on and off in their relationships. She also had found videos of him sleeping with other women while they weren't together. So instead of it being in a relationship, in a committed relationship at that, Danae said that the relationship was a situationship. So basically, she was with whatever he was doing. At the same time, she had a job, she was independent, she had her own car. She wanted Derek to feel jealous. So she decided to get a friend by the name of Fabian. I believe that was the guy's name. May he rest in peace. And basically, she was like, "Yo, I want to make him jealous and make him think that I'm going out with somebody else." And so she would, leave like little notes and stuff like that to make Derek feel jealous. And so, at some point, I want to say within around 2015, 2016, she moved to Atlanta, right? And he moved to Atlanta also as well. So she went from Tuskegee University to North Carolina to Atlanta. And so she already knew what the deal was, right? Derek basically was sleeping with other women, right? And she was complicit in that, in the sense of that she was having sex with him also. So basically, as one woman was leaving, she was coming to his apartment. So she would pass women on the stairs as she's going to Derek's apartment to go have sex with him. And she would have sex with him about 3 times per week, right? And so she says to Derek, like, "Yo, this has to stop. Like, what are we doing here?" And then she gets married, I think around 20, no, she gets pregnant around 2017, 2018, or 2016, right? 2018, I think, is when she gets married. So, you know, she has their first child, and this is before their marriage. And basically, she's like, this has to stop. Like, I can't wait for him for 7 years. And I think she talks to his mother. And then Derek calls her mother, Danae's mother, and is like, "Listen, I want to ask for your daughter's hand in marriage." Now, you got to understand, there's already red flags at this point in the relationship. Danae knows that he's sleeping with other women. She's also sleeping with him, right? They're on and off. They don't really have the best relationship, but she thinks that if they're together, well, they get married, that this might solve the problem. So he proposes, right? At this time, Danae is raising their child, right? And Derek ends up proposing 2 months after his first child is born. He proposes to her, right? Because they both weren't ready for marriage. Let's just say that, right? Basically, he proposes and both of their families get together for this beautiful proposal. And so Danae had two decisions, right, to make. Either she accepts this proposal or she gets kicked out of her apartment. Now, let me explain, right? At the time that she was living with her daughter, and she's raising her daughter by herself at this point, her lease was going to be up. So she figured, you know what? Let me get engaged to him. He has a place already. Let's just move in together. And so there was never no official thing where, oh, we're back together again and stuff like that. It was a situation where she just had their child. He wanted to do the right thing and get married to her. He didn't want Danae to raise their daughter by herself. And so he proposes, right? But here's the thing. They go to pre-marital counseling. And so that's when Danae begins to talk about her trauma and what happened at that party in college. So Derek is like, yo, I can't do this anymore. I'm not doing no more counseling. So it's a year before they get married, right? And about 3 weeks before the wedding ceremony is supposed to take place, Danae is already working on Derek's brand, right? She's doing customer service. She's doing all different types of stuff. So she begins to work on his brand. When she notices that he's getting a haircut by a woman, right? And this woman happens to be the same woman that he was having sex with. And so she says, why would you send this to the business email? You know I'm taking care of the business. That doesn't make any sense. Why wouldn't you send it to your personal email? You know? And so, you know, she was like, yo, this can't happen. You got to stop talking to these women and stuff. And so Derek listens for that moment. And then after that, 3 weeks later, they get married. Now, I want you to understand, during this time, this is a year later, Danae is pregnant with their second child. So you can't imagine the stress that this has on her, right? And then they end up getting married. So she's pregnant at the time with their second child. And this is in 2018 when they get married, right? So at the time that the scandal broke with her and Derek, they had already been about, I want to say, 3 years into the marriage. Yeah, about 3 years into the marriage, right? And so they get married, but she begins to deal with postpartum depression after the birth of her second child. And so she begins going to the gym, you know, she wants to get herself in shape and all that. So she gets an instructor. And so Derek is like, oh, you're cheating on me. What? How am I cheating on you? And so, you know, she goes on to tell Derek, listen, the man's wife is an instructor also. So in order to not deal with any type of issues or anything like that, she's like, you know what? Just give me a female instructor. That's it. And that was it. Right? So I think I pretty much covered everything that happened in the first part of Danae Jackson's interview with My Future Wifey podcast. It's a lot to unpack and a lot to swallow, but we can conclude that a lot of the things that happened in her marriage, right? Because look, she wasn't trying to raise 2 children by herself. She was dealing with this man. She wanted everything to work, right? But her trauma, it thrusted her into a relationship that she didn't need to be in. And then on top of that, she wasn't looking at red flags. And then it's almost in a way she was encouraging him to cheat, even though we know that's not true because they had been separated. So she basically let him do his own thing, right? But she never set up no boundaries and been like, yo, you can't talk to these other women if we're going to be married and blah, 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 and all this other stuff, right? But obviously, she learned a great deal being with this man. So this is my commentary on part 1. Commentary on part 2 of the episode of the podcast I will do once I finish watching it. Once again, I want to thank you guys for watching this video. And if you look below, you can check out some of the links that I have. My debut album, By Any Means, is coming out August 1st, 2023. So the pre-save link is there. Also got links to some of my skits, original music, the Meaning of the Minds podcast, and much more. All right, so make sure that you go and check it out. All right, once again, I want to thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. You know, and as I said, part 2 will come very soon. And as you guys know, next month in June, we'll be having another episode 9 of the Meaning of the Minds podcast. All right, I'm not going to tell you the title just as yet because I want you to be surprised. It's really going to be good. And I think it's an episode that everybody needs to see. When it comes out, I'll let you know. But anyway, this is my commentary on part 1 of Danae Jackson's interview with My Future Wifey podcast. All right. Once again, I want to thank you guys for listening. Y'all take care and have a great day. Peace.